expect Anthony Joshua's UK broadcast partner to be going forward?
I don't know. I mean, I think, look, there's no reason necessarily for him to leave Sky. Like, they're a brilliant pay-per-view platform. They've had a great relationship with him, and we have as well with AJ, with them. Those talks continue. He's been approached by a number of other broadcasters. Those talks will also continue. It's up in the air. It's not like something that we're on every day at the moment, or even talking about every day. But obviously we know it's got to be dealt with, and 258 and Freddie and myself and AJ will look at all the offers and decide what's best. But you know, there's no. It's not like, oh, we want to leave Sky, because they've been a great partner, and certainly they're a very strong option to continue with.
Still looking at March for that?
For the rematch? Yeah, March, maybe April. I mean, I'm seeing Alex Krasuk in the next week or so, and then we'll start planning. But I think April, end of March, April, something like that.
See, that happened before the White Fury?
Good question. Depends. Maybe we do a double header.
Time for a couple more.
Eddie, can I ask a question on Simon?
We also saw Thomas Carty on the card tonight, Irish professional heavyweight, and Simon and Keevan are there yesterday. A lot of the new and upcoming fighters, amateurs that are hoping to turn over, you know, matching is the dream for them. Just wondering, what is the protocol, or what is the standard? What do matching look for?
Well, with Keevan, Adam Booth approached me about Keevan about 3 or 4 years ago and said, I've got this kid, he's unbelievably special. But I have those phone calls 10 times a day. And I just said, we haven't got space. And then I watched him and I was like, fuck. And he's got better and better and better and better. And actually, when I got the phone call to say he was available, we did the deal in 24 hours, 48 hours. So it's not like, getting opportunities is always based on your ability, but also about timing and luck. You know, just that right moment when, you know, obviously we're in a very competitive market at the moment, so we're being aggressive with signings, but we're not just signing anybody. But again, 4 years ago, it weren't right for us. Now, but I said to him earlier, I was joking, I said, now you're, was he 9-0, 10-0, whatever he is, how good's that? I said, you've got all your shit fights out of the way. Now we can actually go and have proper fights, and he can really fight. He's so exciting. Thomas Carty was very nervous in the first couple of rounds, but he's a good young talent. Obviously now with Fury-Whyte looking after him, so I don't always look for, you know, at the moment there's all the Olympians speaking to everybody. Of course, you know, you've got good pedigree with those people, but I like something a little bit different. Like with Johnny Fisher tonight, that to me was as enjoyable as filling a stadium for a unified championship, because it's old school, isn't it? Like a load of blokes from Romford coming out and supporting a novice who's 3-0. I've never seen anything like it. And seeing him up there on that stage, the country road, his face, you know, that's priceless.
On a related note, when will we see Matchroom return to Ireland for a show?
I would actually try to get December 11th in Belfast, because we've got Kate Taylor. Keevan actually will go December 11th as well, it looks like. So next year, hopefully. I mean, Katie is going to fight December 11th, and then we want to do the big room at the Garden for her against Serrano in April. So no, probably a bit later than that. If I can do a deal with Mr. Jake Paul.
One more, guys.
Just touching
I'm all right down.
Sure.
Sorry, just touching on Ethan Kamara's fight against Castaneda. One of the scorecards had it as a draw, and the rest was a majority decision. What did you make of that fight?
Well, I talked the fight up. I thought it was a really good fight, but Coogan said to me earlier, when, you know, Castaneda against Kamari didn't really catch fire, so I thought it was a really good fight. But then I remembered how much I sold that fight all week, and I did sort of sell it that it was going to be Gatti Ward 3. But it was a really good fight. I actually thought Castaneda edged the fight. I went over to the scorecard, to Darren Barker scoring. He had Kamari by 2, I think. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I thought it was quite close for the first 6, but I did have probably Kamari edging it. But then I gave Castaneda a big 8th round, big 9th round. The 10th could have gone either way. Maybe actually Kamari nicked it with the cleaner work. He caught a lot on his gloves. But I felt like Castaneda edged the fight.
Does he get to be in the home corner next time?
Should be, shouldn't he? I mean, he's beat Ofer Jones. He'll probably get a bit pissed off now. We've got another option on him. But it just shows you how good the depth of fighters. He's not. I mean, he was 15-1 in Toledo, I think he's from Texas, and no one ever heard of him. You know, I mean, he's a quality fighter, and he's got a lot of improvements to make as well.
Eddie, earlier this week we had the announcement of Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. I know that we did the fight in Miami with him.
Started it all, didn't I? Gave him his fucking pro debut. What did I do there?
If he beats Tommy Fury, first of all, do you think he'll beat Tommy Fury?
I've only watched Tommy Fury once in a UK show, beating a guy that I could have beaten, and you could have beaten as well. And then watched that last fight that he was in, that 4-round or whatever it was, which was absolute, like, it was
Anthony Johnson.
the sparring guy, the guy who spars with Jake Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, logic and hope would tell you that a professional boxer that boxed for a living and was also Tyson Fury's brother and has boxed all his life should never ever lose to Jake Paul. But Jake Paul is not horrific. Like, he's not. There's a lot of pro fighters worse than Jake Paul. I've seen them. I've had a lot of them on my shows with young kids coming through, you know. But it's just the most embarrassing thing if he loses that fight. I mean, and that's why it's quite. I feel like that fight's a lot bigger in the UK than it is in America. No one knows who Tommy Fury is in America. I don't actually think it will do great business there, but I think it's going to do good business in the UK. But he can't. I mean, the problem is if it's a ballsy move by Jake Paul, because if he beats him, he's really made a statement. But if Tommy Fury loses, he will. I mean, he's got to change his name or something.
Yeah.
He shouldn't change his name. He should just go to a desert island somewhere and just stay there for life, because it would just be the most embarrassing thing. But I guess it's entertainment, isn't it? You know, at least it's a fight where you don't really know what's going to happen. I don't mind Jake Paul, what he's doing. He's taking it seriously. He's training. He's putting the sparring in. And I don't agree with all these comments like Javonte, where he says these guys, you know, it's not fair that they're earning all this money for fights, and you've got this other guy who's grinded his whole life and he's not getting the opportunities. Well, he ain't good enough, and he's not built a fan base like Jake Paul. So tough shit. Jake Paul's built the fan base, and he's very intelligent at what he does, and he's chose boxing. Didn't have to choose boxing. Could have chose OnlyFans.
And secondly to that, if Jake Paul beats Tommy Fury, which of your guys would you like to see fight and beat Jake Paul?
I'd have to have a go myself, you know, because someone's got to put an end to it. I'd probably get knocked out as well, actually, to be honest with you, but I don't know. I mean, I always thought Jake Paul, Conor McGregor, decent fight. You know, it's just the weight difference, isn't it? Was it £200 or 190 against 154? It's all a bit mental, though, isn't it? Really, the whole thing.
Eddie, how's it working with him sort of behind the scenes with the Serrano fights?
Jake Paul is very bright. He's not always what you see. Like, he's a showman. He's a great self-promoter, but he's intelligent. He knows how to build an audience. He knows how to deliver content, and it's not just him, but you know, other people on these most valuable promotions team. The reason that they want to make Serrano against Taylor is because it's the biggest fight of all time in women's boxing. So he wants to be able to say, we did that. That fight happened because of Jake Paul in boxing. And he wants to get as much money from Amanda Serrano to say, oh, we got her the most money that she's ever had, or the highest female purse ever. So I think his intentions really are, like, he's not doing that to try and make money. He does have. We've all fallen in love with the sport, haven't we? That's why we're here. And I do believe he's fallen in love with boxing as well. So it's not just, I want to just make as much money. I think he enjoys the training. I think he likes the sport. And I think part of him wants to do some things that give him some credibility and show that he actually likes the sport. And there's probably a bit of ego as well, but I genuinely think he would like to be a reason that fight happened, and it happened in the big room at MSG.
Given the fact you said you think it's going to do good business here, would you consider doing another one of those cards on the zone?
With Jake Paul?
Yeah, or any YouTuber?
No, not any YouTuber. Like I would do a Jake Paul fight against a boxer in a good fight. Like, I don't have a problem with Jake Paul against Tommy Fury. Like, I don't think it's horrendous. It's just, you know, I would probably do that fight if I was asked to do it. I would probably do Jake Paul. What I wouldn't do, honestly, is Logan Paul against Floyd Mayweather, 1 or 2, and I wouldn't do Evander Holyfield ever stepping back in the ring, and I wouldn't do an old fighter in a fight, a legends fight, and I wouldn't do Logan Paul against Mike Tyson. I might do actually.
Would you do KSI Logan Paul 3 in the UK?
No. I really enjoyed that, and I love both guys, but I just feel that we have to focus on boxing. I feel like, but again, that's why I don't have an objection with Jake Paul. I think he is boxing, but he is taking part. He's not just fighting. Like, I know the guys haven't been boxers that he's boxed, but at least the fighters, they take part in combat sport. So I don't mind the Jake Paul stuff as long as he fights decent guys. And Tommy Fury, I don't know enough about him, but I presume that he can fight. We'll find out.
If Jake Paul loses to Tommy Fury, would you want him to carry on?
Doesn't mean a row of beans to me, but it will be over. That whole
He
thing.
said it's enough for his sport. He's fed enough with sport. So if he has fed enough, like
Yeah,
you
but
said,
commercially, it would fall off a cliff. The whole thing's going to fall off a cliff soon, just with one bad night or one But at the moment, it's But if he lost to Tommy, that's why it's a risky fight for Jake Paul, because no one knows who Tommy Fury is in America. But they do in the UK. It's a bigger fight here. But if he loses to a guy that no one's really like, that's why I thought he would have boxed Conor McGregor or someone like that. Whereas if he can lose, he can come back and fight Tommy Fury.
in your view, how does Dillian-Whyte beat Tyson Fury?
Pressure. He needs to dog it out with him. He needs to be in the kind of fight that Fury was in with Wilder. Because Dillian wouldn't gas out after 3 rounds. He'd go for 12. And that was the only way Wilder was going to beat him, is if he had an engine to carry on from that 3rd round. Was it 3rd round when he dropped him?
Yeah.
He was fucked in the 4th round. If he had an engine, he could have won that fight. But that's how he's going. He's not going to outbox him. He's got to dog it out with him, and he's got to hit him hard. He's got to work the body. He's got to rough him up, and he's got to have that kind of fight. And he's got to outlast him.
And obviously, you've admitted that you lost quite a lot of money on this card tonight.
Thank you.
Go with that. Do you feel that you would have any second thoughts if this same sort of kind of situation would arise another time down the line? You still go ahead with the card?
Yeah, I never pull cards. Never pull cards. Pulled 1 card in 11 years, and that was it was bizarre circumstances. Because what's the point? Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't do a show and make a load of money and just walk out there and think this happens every week. Because there's 9 fighters on the card that we represent that all need to fight. They all need to have their career progressed. They all need to earn money. And if we didn't box them tonight, every other card we've got this year is full. So they would have had no money for Christmas. They would have had no fight before Christmas. They would have been in a training camp for 10 or 11 weeks paying all their expenses. And also our reputation of working with fighters and signing fighters, that's that if you're with us, you don't get fucked around. And if we tell you we're going to do something, we do it. And if it means we have to lose money, then it means we have to lose money. And that's just the swings of the business, unfortunately. That's why it's such a terrible business. It's up there with owning a football club. It's that, because you can have great days and you can have terrible days. And you're just waiting for a disaster all the time in this business. We had a run of Josh Warrington against Lara, Liam Smith against Fowler, Joshua against Usyk, massive money on all of those sold out arenas. And I'm thinking, just get through those. Just get through those. And then when you get through those, wallop straight in the nuts. And that's just boxing.
Ultimately, it's better than I do that you'll get Josh on the card that you end up going with. You mentioned that off the back of even Sky versus only looking to put on better quality cards than you could on the Sky. Do you feel this was a quality card?
Actually, this was a standard. I said leading up to this fight, this was an average matchroom show without Dillian-Whyte. Average, not on paper, nothing spectacular, not poor, and I thought it ended up being a great night. But look at the shows we've been doing like that. Again, a good example of Smith Fowler. Could never have made that fight on Sky. Warrington against Lara in the stadium, Katie Taylor on the undercard, Conor Benn on the undercard. We've only done, that was our 3rd card on the Zone, UK outside of fight camp. Well, give us a chance. We've been going for 2 months. You know, very unfortunate to lose Dillian-Whyte, would have been, but look at what they've done. They've come back and said, we'd like to add another UK show to give more value to subscribers. Wait till you see the Chisora Parker card, the undercard. They're pay-per-view nights and they're part of the subscription. But now, coming off the back, once Canelo's out of the way, we've got 10 shows in 8 weeks on the Zone. 10 shows in 8 weeks. You've got the Sheffield show with Kid Galahad and Harper and Billum Smith. You've got the World Championship quadruple header in New Hampshire with Demetrius Andrade and Martinez and Akhmadaliev and Kaylee Reese. Then you've got Teofimo Lopez against George Kambosos. Then you've got Davis-Haney hopefully against Jojo Diaz. You've got Bilbao and you've got Milan wedged in between. And actually you've got another one in Uzbekistan. Then you've now got Conor Benn, Katie Taylor, Joe Caldina, Alan Babbage, whoever else is on that card. Then you've got Chisora Parker the week after. It's unbelievable value. Who is doing what we're doing? No one. Yet you still ask me soppy questions like that. You know what I mean? I'm joking. But it's true though. You don't ask these other people. No one's doing it. 10 shows in 8 weeks, all in different countries around the world.
Appreciate this last one isn't to do with you, but Javante Davis versus Rolly Romero, there's talk about Rolly Romero potentially being taken away from that card because of behaviour in the past. Just your comments on that situation there?
I don't know anything about the situation, but I spoke to Davis-Haney and I said, are you happy for me to put your name in the mix? And he said, yeah, because at the moment, No Go Diaz has not signed his contract after being offered more to fight Davis-Haney than he was getting to fight Ryan Garcia. So we'll have to see what happens. But you know, we want to make the Jojo Diaz fight, but he's got to hurry up and sign the contract.
So who's wants that fight?
Yeah, but it's not big enough, in my opinion. You know, that fight is there, and we may end up making it, but we need to make big fights, statement fights in the US market for Davis-Haney, and that our preference is Jojo Diaz.
Is there a deadline on that?
Yeah, it's 5 weeks tonight. I mean, they're all training for that date. Even Jojo, he was supposed to be fighting on November 27th, so he's ready. But at some point, we need to go on sale. December the 4th, Mandalay Bay. Sorry, MGM Grand.
Are you looking to add more to your US thing, given the fact that you're not having
I quite like the spot in the US of having a massive budget and being able to pick up certain fights without necessarily running the obligation of 4 fights a year for him, 5 fights a year for him. Do you understand? Teofimo Lopez, great example of that. You know, where you can pick up a big fight on purpose. I mean, you still need a stable. We've got a great stable, but I like the opposition to be. I like the ability to be quite fluid in that market as well, and not just say, right, we've got this champion, he's got to fight 3 times a year. We've got this champion, he's got to fight 3 times a year. So the back end of the schedule is really strong. With, you know, obviously you have got Munguia Rosado, you have got our World Championship triple header, Teofimo, Davis-Haney, etc. And you know, the numbers in US are really good. The Zone now built a real good brand profile there, where, you know, obviously we haven't got Canelo next week, but they've been watching Canelo Alvarez for $19.99 and a monthly subscription. Well, next week is $80 for a fight. So, you know, I think they've built a great reputation there, and they've got a real solid subscriber base, despite losing Canelo Alvarez this fight.